Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another videos. Another paid request. This time for Shawn. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos or topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And Shawn wanted me to do a commentary on an American Werewolf in London. So I have the Blu-ray in. Let's get to it. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. As Universal logo pops up, if anyone's ever interested in requesting a review, a tier list, a re-review, a commentary, a reaction, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this came out in 1981, won the Oscar for Best Makeup Effects, richly deserved. Rick Baker did a wonderful job. John Landis, by this point, he had directed The Blues Brothers and Animal House. That's why part of the tagline was John Landis brings you a different type of animal. It was a change of pace, him doing a horror film, although there's still comedy in it. And John Landis is a piece of human garbage, which I'll get to in a few minutes. But I do think he's a piece of human garbage that should be in jail, but he's not, sadly. So you got, going through the cast here, as really good geography. David Naughton, he'd be in a few films throughout. Not for Publication was one with Nancy Allen. Griffin Dunne, he would be in After Hours, the Martin Scorsese film. I think he was one of the directors in that. What was that movie? 43? That was like a big disaster. Frank Oz, who would go on to direct Little Shop of Horrors in the 80s and was the voice of Yoda. I think puppeteered him as well. John Landis would do that a lot, like cast directors and other people. Elmer Bernstein, who did the music, he would do the music for, I think, Stripes, Ghostbusters, among others. And of course, Rick Baker. Very accomplished makeup effects guy. Go on to have a great career, from Harry and the Hendersons to various other films. From what I understand, Michael Jackson really liked this movie, so that's why he got John Landis to direct and Rick Baker to do the effects on Thriller. John Peters, definitely a lot of stories on John Peters, especially that Kevin Smith story about the Superman live stripped. The same John Peters. And John Landis, I do think, is a piece of human garbage. He's directed some good films. I like Animal House, which that's another commentary he wants me to do. I don't mind The Blues Brothers. I like this film. I don't mind Coming to America. I like Oscar with Sylvester Stallone. But his work on Twilight Zone, the movie, is why I call him a piece of human garbage and a bunch of feces ready to be flushed down into the Topanga River. This is a guy that, a good watch is if you can find the E! True Hollywood Story on the trial of the Twilight Zone. It's a fascinating watch. Because, yeah, ultimately they got released and no punishment, but enough witnesses and corroboration tells the story. John Landis was egotistical, he was full of himself, he thought he could do no wrong, bit of a druggie as well. Even though in that segment of Twilight Zone the movie, which was an anthology, Steven Spielberg was going to direct one, and he did. George Miller of Mad Max did one, Joe Dante did one. John Landis did the first one, where Vic Morrow is this racist guy, and he's going through time periods to show what's like on the other end of the racist spectrum, and ultimately he's supposed to be in Vietnam and the soldiers are chasing after him and he saves these two Vietnamese kids. Well, the Vietnamese kids, these kids were underage, they should not have been there, child labor laws, and they broke it. The guy who was supposed to monitor it, they were hiding the kids from him. It was a dangerous set as well. You got explosives all over. Lo and behold, an explosive charge went not the way it should have been. Helicopter pilot lost control, crashed the chopper, killed Vic Burrow, and killed the 2 kids. Piss poor planning, piss poor filmmaking, piss poor responsibility. And John Landis should have been in jail. He was in trial. The trial went on for years. Well, it went on for years until they finally got him the trial. And John Landis then got scot-free. No punishment. John Landis continued to work. I mean, he did Spies Like Us. He did Coming to America. He did Beverly Hills Cop 3. He did Oster. He did a few films in the 90s. The Tom Arnold film. I think he did The Stupids. He did Susan's Plan. But those films bombed, and then that finally knocked his career out of the loop. So you're stupid and incompetent. You get people, including kids, killed. Your career still keeps going. But if they stop making money, then finally your career is knocked out. So that's Hollywood for you. So fuck John Landis. I like some of his movies, but fuck him as a person, as an individual. I would not want to meet him because I would have the urge to spit in his face. And there's a reason why Spielberg broke his friendship off with him after that movie. And then Spielberg didn't even want to do that film anymore. Because he was going to do a different story. Then he's like, I don't want to do this. And he was just not into it. So it's like, fuck it. I'll just do the most sweet-natured, sweet enough to make your teeth rot, sweeter than chocolate. And that's why you could tell his heart wasn't in that story. People go, well, that story feels off. Because Spielberg didn't want to do it anymore. I can't really blame him after what transpired. And he was the guy that set everything up because his name was the big promotion tool. I'm sure he's the one that set up, hey, John Landis, Joe Dante. I like Joe Dante's work on Piranha, and etc. By the way, get to this film, you have your 2 American backpackers. Guess they don't like outsiders here. But yeah, David Naughton and Griffin Dunne. That's kind of crazy. Like Griffin Dunne, I mean, this is a guy that was in, like I said, American Werewolf in London, and After Hours, Martin Scorsese film. You would think those 2 projects alone. Sally didn't get a whole lot of projects afterward, it seems. And that's the thing when you look at these films back in the day. Like, a lot of these films people deem as classic. A lot of times the actors didn't really get much work afterward. Like David Naughton, he was probably more famous for his Dr. Pepper commercials. Would you like to be a pepper too? And then again, David Naughton did a few films. He was in the anthology Body... Oh, what was it? Body Bags. The John Carpenter one. He was in the gas station one that John Carpenter directed. And then... What was the... He was in a film called Brutal Massacre, which was about the making of a small budget horror film. Not a bad movie. You had Ken Foray in the film, a few other familiar faces, which was cool to see. Not a bad movie. I know the Blu-ray is. I mean, even the Blu-ray I have has quite a few features, including a good making of documentary on the film. And these people in the pub like to tell stupid, kind of racist stories, let alone Alamo stories. I don't know what's wrong with the question. You got a big old star blatant for everybody to see. You're not expecting anyone to ask. I didn't make you do shit, buddy. Stick that fucking dart up your ass. I didn't. I don't know. Do your brain cells miss your forehead? Really, no food there? Okay. You guys are a bunch of dicks. You know, you could warn them there's a dangerous animal out there. Just say there's wolves. You don't have to say a werewolf. Just say there's wolves. There's dangerous wolves out there. You want to go out in the daytime. There you go. Simple. That's all you had to say. Hey, there's dangerous wolves out there. They've been killing some livestock. They could get you. Stay here till morning. They usually come out at night. There you go. Helped you out. That's all you had to say. Should the world know our business? At the end, you could have just told what I fucking told you, you dipshits. Fucking idiots, all of you. Everyone in the fucking bar. Hey, I think you want to stay the night here. Maybe there's a, I mean, wherever there's, maybe there's a motel nearby. Stay the night, blah, blah, blah. That's all you had to do. There's wolves. You don't have to say werewolf. That's them leaving the road. Them not realizing they're on the road, but we're realizing it. This is always one of those films that I like. There are some funny bits. Like an American man stole my balloon. The acting was fairly good. Makeup effects are definitely solid. I already told you what you could have said, dipshits, and I didn't even think about it. I just said it off the top of my fucking head. Off the top of my fucking head, that's all I had to say. Y'all dumb fucks. You're a bunch of fucking coward dipshits. But yeah, I don't mind the film, but I've never loved it. But I do like the film. There's other werewolf films I enjoy more. Dog Soldiers is number one for me. Then Silver Bullet is up there. Full Eclipse I do enjoy. Bad Moon I do enjoy. Late Phases is a good one. You know, the idea of the friend coming back more and more decomposed as a zombie, warning him is an interesting idea, which they ripped off for Tom Cruise's The Mummy. They completely ripped off the idea. It's just, I don't think the humor and horror is as consistently melded together compared to other films. I think like Fright Night does a better job of that. Evil Dead 2 does a better job of that, but the ending is a perfect example. Like, you have this tragic bit where Jenny Agutter sees David Naughton's dead body, and then a just quick cut to ba with a ba da bang da bang blue moon. Like, such a whiplash. You go, what? To a point you almost have to sue for the fucking whiplash. But to be fair, like the atmosphere with all the wide open plain, the fog and smoke they have, the fog definitely brings a level of atmosphere. And these two work well together. That's why it would have been nice to see a lot more of them. And then sort of this bit surprise where, and then boom. And not only does he get killed, but he just killed viciously. Like, it's not that he just, okay, this guy who seems likable was getting killed, but he's getting killed just vicious, no humor to it, bloodied, streaming in horror. Just ripped to shreds right there, pretty much. So if these guys know what's going on, it makes you question why they don't just kill David Naughton's character as well. Because if they know the rules, they know he's been bitten, so he's going to turn to a werewolf soon enough. You would think that's the case, because they shoot a wolf and they're not surprised that it turned to a guy. So you would think, okay, he knows the rules. They know the rules, but I don't know. I guess you wouldn't have a film if they did that. But again, if they don't know, they'd be like, holy shit, we shot that wolf, he turned to a guy. If they do know, they would go, well, that guy got bit, so he's going to turn to a werewolf, so now we're going to kill him too. So he doesn't change. Or I don't know. Maybe something else to that effect. But I mean, the film does have some good set pieces. The transformation scene is definitely the standout. Also, the nightmare scene with like the Nazi weird werewolf zombie, whatever you want to call those creatures, definitely unique. And like I said, I don't mind the acting in the film. I would say Dog Soldiers and Full Eclipse and those films I enjoy more because I love the action horror. Action is my favorite genre, so when action and horror is blended together like that, I'm a sucker for that more so. At least usually. Bad Moon, I just find the story a little bit more interesting. Of like the dog is kind of the main lead and hero, and I find that really unique and kind of cool. Although there's a couple iffy morphing effects, and I do like that story. Silver Bullet, I love Corey Haim, Gary Busey. I think they work really well together. Although the werewolf, the effects is kind of subpar, but I got a bit more into the story. I like Corey Haim's character. I felt sorry for him being stuck in his wheelchair. But there's good notes to this film. If I mean, I just people say, well, you just say it because if you say you hate it, you but no. If I hated it, I would say I hated it. I do think this is a good movie. Because I'll say this, I don't like The Howling. You know, that's a famous werewolf film I don't like. That's a unpopular opinion. I never liked The Howling. The Howling has some really good effects, and that's it. I don't. I think the story with Dee Wallace and the serial killer in the city, I think that should have been more of the film. Like, there's Frank Oz with the glasses. I believe that's, yeah, Frank Oz. Yeah, with the glasses there. That's the voice of Yoda from Star Wars and director of the 80s Little Shop of Horrors. But if it was Dee Wallace hunted by the serial killer played by Robert Picardo, and you find out that the serial killer is also a werewolf, and then you have like a cop like Robert Forster, may he rest in peace. If you have like Robert Forster as a cop protecting Dee Wallace, and they're looking at these serial killings, but it's so grisly, it seems like an animal attack, and what's going on, and then maybe in the middle of the film, well, or based on the title, The Howling, you know what it truly is. And you could blend that humor, like Alligator, like Robert Forster, with his one-liners and dialogue. I think that would have been much more memorable for me instead of this weird, wanty, what, sex cult, werewolf cult, whatever the fuck it is, in the woods. I never thought it was that funny. Never thought it was that funny. The ending where she turns to a fucking sheepdog, I thought it looked really fucking stupid. And I thought it was a really dissatisfying ending for my personal taste. And like I said, I'm not a fan of The Howling. Not at all. And of course, we got Jenny Agutter here as the nurse. Hello, nurse. I guess I could look up info on the film, so I'm not just blindly watching. But is it? If I did top 5 werewolf films, it would be Dog Soldiers, then probably Silver Bullet, Full Eclipse, Bad Moon, and Late Phases. I just know Dog Soldiers would be number 1. And I'm sure there's other werewolf films I like. Like, this would be in the top 10. Then let me look up a couple things. Let me see. List of werewolf films. When this fucking phone starts. Okay, I'm on here. Yeah, give me the thing to type. Yeah, list of werewolf movies. I mean, you say it's kind of like zombie films where, you know, there's some good ones, there's a lot of bad ones as well. Let's see. American Werewolf in Paris, which is, I guess, I mean, it's labeled a sequel to this, but at the same time, there's not a whole lot of. There's not much that are kind of similar with each other. John Landis was asked to do a sequel by Polygram in 1991. The company, under John Pierce, Peter Gruber, made something like 10 or 12 movies. The only one that made money was American Werewolf. They left the company, were replaced by a guy named Michael Kuhn. He called me and said they were interested in making a sequel. I entertained the idea for a little bit and then came up with something that I liked and wrote a first draft of the script. His draft focused on Debbie, a character mentioned but never seen or heard in the original film, getting a job in London, her investigation to the deaths of David and Jack. Which goes to the backstory of American Werewolf in Paris. Sorry, just looking into this. This man. At one part, Marco Brambilla was going to direct the sequel, who did Demolition Man, then he left. Limbo for about 2 years, 12 screenwriters took their take on it, and then Anthony Waller, who had directed the film Mute Witness, came on the project, and he rewrote the script. Jesus. American Werewolf Paris isn't that good. I don't mind Tom Everett Scott in it. I know some people annoy him. I actually don't mind him. And it definitely, I'm a sucker for more upbeat endings. So it definitely has more of an upbeat ending compared to this film. I would wonder what that film would look like if it wasn't for the dog shit CGI. And sometimes there's films like that. Like, what would that film... Like, American Werewolf in Paris. I would like that film to have just practical effects and then judge the film, that version of the film. Because that's the most egregious part of the film. Let's see. I haven't seen these, but just to name them. Battle Dogs, Big Bad Wolf, Blood and Chocolate. I haven't seen that, but I just remember seeing that trailer in the theater and people laughing at the title. The Boy Who Cried Werewolf, 1973 and 2010. Cursed, that Wes Craven film that was a fucking disaster. That needs a documentary, man. That needs a documentary. Full Moon High, I've heard of, I've never seen. Of course, The Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr. There's the Howling sequels. I actually like the second one because of Red Brown. The Howling 2 is the only Howling film I like. It's Red Brown yelling, screaming, and shooting werewolves in the face. And you got Christopher Lee, so I actually like that one. Late Phases, I liked it. That's the blind war veteran. And he moves to this sort of retirement community. And someone he knew, or someone nearby passed, was killed and murdered, and he liked her and wants to find out who the fuck the werewolf is. I don't mean just werewolf specific. Like, there are movies with werewolves in them that I do enjoy. Waxwork, The Monster Squad. But I just meant specifically werewolf films. Project Metal Beast. That's a fun B-movie idea. That's a film... Well, they would fuck it up, but... a remake... A proper remake would be nice on that. Teen Wolf. Where I reviewed, I didn't hate the film. I did not hate that movie. Which surprised me, because it's from the director of The Devil Inside My Ass and Stay Alive, that video game horror. But Where, W-E-R, I actually didn't mind that one. Werewolf Rising, The Werewolf of Washington, Werewolf of London, Werewolves the Beast Among Us. Wolfen, don't get me started on Wolfen. I hated that fucking movie. Wolf with Jack Nicholson, it's there. It's there. A lot of films you never heard, like Blood Moon and whatever the fuck these other movies are. Like, shots like this are interesting, these dream sequences. And that's a cool makeup bit with the yellow eyes and teeth. Which you see a bit of that, I think, in Thriller, I believe. The music video. But yeah, I don't... Like, shots like that are pretty... Like, as much as I give shit to John Landis, he did some decent work as a director in this, to be fair. See, the film gets a 7.5 on IMDb. Yeah, from the director of Animal House, A Different Kind of Animal. And American Werewolf in London, the monster movie. As opposed to what? The porno movie? That's a weird thing for the poster. The monster movie. Again, as opposed, I guess, to really hone in that this is not a comedy, this is a horror film with some humor in it. People complained that the script would be too frightening for a comedy and too funny for a horror movie. He found success in the Kentucky Fried Movie, National Lampoon's Animal House, Blues Brothers. Excuse me. John Landis came up with the story while he worked in Yugoslavia as production assistant on the Clint Eastwood film Kelly's Heroes. He and a Yugoslav member of the crew were driving in the back of a car on location where they came across a group of Romani people. They appeared to be performing rituals on a man being buried so that he would not rise from the grave. This made John Landis realize that he would never be able to confront the undead and gave him the idea for a film in which a man would go through the same thing. He wrote the first draft in 1969, shelved it for over a decade. He wrote, directed, and starred in his debut film Schlock, which had a bit of a cult following. Kentucky Fried Movie, Animals, Blues Brothers, successful. Got some financing from Polygram Pictures for his werewolf film. Studio Universal pressured the director to cast Dan actor John Belushi, but Landis went with unknown actors instead. Filming took place between February and March of 1981. The Moors were filmed around the Black Mountains in Wales, and East Proctor is in reality the tiny village of Crittenden, about 6 miles southeast of Bilth-Wells. The pub shown in the beginning as a slaughter lane was actually a cottage located in Crittenden, and the interior scenes were filmed in the Black Swan Old Lane Martyrs Green in Surrey. Let's see. It grossed $30 million at the box office. Oh yeah, here's the dream scene. This is always one of the highlights. Just unique look of the creatures, and the fact they're shooting guns as well, which isn't typical. These weird like werewolf Nazis. I don't know how the hell you're supposed to. It's just one of those things. They're like, what the fuck? How did he even dream this shit? A nice slit throat effect. I think this is like a nightmare within a nightmare, which wasn't typical. Yeah, there you go. That's a fun reaction. Holy shit. See, moments like that, or it's relatable, as that's how someone would actually react. Again, how the fuck he even dreamt that shit, I don't know, but I guess sort of in deep down is like his soul, his body knows he's turned into a werewolf of some sort, so he's having these weird dreams. Like his subconscious is telling him what's up. And maybe where he's at somehow makes me think of, I don't know, Nazis or something, I don't know. But it's definitely a very unique dream, and it's memorable. And even this whole bit here with, seeing, which is unique to the werewolf mythos in a way. There's not many of them showcase this idea that, he just sees his dead friend, trying to warn him and stuff. Why is this happening? Why is it that each time he comes back, if he's dead, if this is his ghost, his spirit, whatever the hell the case may be, why is it that it decomposes each time he comes back? I don't know. I can't answer that. Great makeup effect, especially that piece there that just dangling. Give a bit of. And the fact that they're talking just, as friendly as can be, and the conversation is that, wait, she went to that guy? So this says here, walk the earth in limbo until the world's curse is lifted. Does it have an unnatural death? The wolf's bloodline must be severed. The last remaining werewolf must be destroyed. And that's you. So does he have an unnatural death? There you go. Have you ever talked to a corpse? It's boring. Again, the makeup effects still hold up very well, especially when you see in HD. So, came out August 1981, grossed $30 million at the box office. Budget of under $6 million. 89% Rotten Tomatoes. Director Edgar Wright cited the movie as a major inspiration for his own filmmaking and a milestone in the genre. Director John Landis has expressed regret over changing and cutting certain scenes from the final cut in order to earn an R rating. The sex scene between just these two was edited to be less explicit. An extended scene showing the homeless men along the Thames being attacked by the werewolf was eliminated after a test audience reacted negatively to it. Apparently there's a radio adaptation of the film in 1997. Jenny Agutter, Brian Glover, and John Woodvine reprising their roles. Yeah, the documentary in 2009 was called Beware the Moon, Remembering the American Werewolf in London, and that was on that Blu-ray there. There was also a book published in 2016. And for years there was talks of a remake, including Max Landis' son, John Landis' son Max Landis doing it, but Max Landis, he went kind of bye-bye in terms of a lot of allegations and shit, so you're not hearing from Max Landis anytime soon. Now, David Naughton, looked at his filmography. He was in Hot Dog the Movie. Not for publication. That's the one I mentioned that had him and Nancy Allen. From the director of Eating Raoul, Paul Bartel. Something called The Boy in Blue, which starred Nicolas Cage, actually. Separate Vacations, Canadian sex comedy. Kidnapped in 1987. Animated historical drama. Never heard of it. Oh, The Sleeping Car. I forgot about that in 1990. That's a very forgettable film. I'm like, oh, well, is David Naughton starring another horror? Because he didn't really do another horror movie. Because it was like comedies, Hot Dog, Not for Publication. That was like the next time he did a horror film. And it was pretty meh. Steel and Lace. He has a supporting role in that. Sci-fi action movie. Something called Wild Cactus. Erotic thriller. Amityville, A New Generation. So he had a supporting role in that movie. Which one was that one? I could never tell those fucking Amityville films apart. Oh yeah, in 1995 he was in the Clint Howard film Ice Cream Man. Forgot about that. Mirror Mirror 3. Urban Safari. Swiss comedy. Big Bad Wolf as the sheriff. Just if it is a werewolf film, get the guy, maybe we'll have him be the sheriff. Where's That's funny. They're not showing that movie, A Brutal Massacre. Why are they not showing that movie? I don't know why they're not showing that film on this list. Did I miss it? Oh yeah, 2007. Brutal Massacre, a comedy. So as you tell, like, nothing really that popular after this. And here's that sex scene in the shower. Now, Jenny Agutter, this lady here, British actress, she would be in, after this, the 1989 horror film Dark Tower of Michael Moriarty, which is a really lame one. We're about this haunted skyscraper, but very boring, very dull movie. Not much happens in the film. She was in Child's Play 2. That's right. I forgot she was in Child's Play 2. That's right. She played... Didn't she play... Yeah, the little kid Andy Barkley gets to a new family, and the foster mother is Jenny Agutter, and the foster father is Jared Graham, who would be Bud and Chud 2, Bud the Chud. And yeah, she had a cameo at the beginning of Darkman. She was the doctor looking at Liam Neeson's character who's all burnt up, and she's explaining what's going on with him and that you can't feel pain. And then a bunch of stuff I've never heard of before. She was in The Avengers and Captain America Winter Soldier as Councilwoman Holly. Don't remember her, but okay, I'll take your word for it. And then Griffin Dunne. What did he do after this? Let's see. Something... Oh, he wasn't really in that movie much. Oh, because he produced it. He was in a film called Cold Feet. I have no idea what the hell this movie is. Romance comedy movie. Johnny Dangerously with Michael Keaton and Joe Piscopo. Dom DeLuise. After Hours with Martin Scorsese. That was 1985. I don't even know how that film did. Oh, I didn't do that well at the box office, so maybe that's why, but it got good reviews. Amazon Women on the Moon, he was a part of that stuff, which I like that movie. A lot of films are like, Who's That Girl with Madonna? I forgot about that movie. I have seen that one. That one I wasn't big on. He was in the Luc Besson film The Big Blue. He was in My Girl. He was in that movie Big Girls Don't Cry, They Get Even, which I remember it was on the trailer, was on Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze. It was called Step Kids. And I'm free. Now we have the next zombie state of Griffin Dunne. Even more decomposed. Falling apart. I think this is the bit where he referenced as a meatloaf. And not much I mean, he directed that Matthew Broderick made Ryan film Addicted to Love. That I remember it came out the same weekend as The Lost World, Jurassic Park 2. And he directed Practical Magic with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. Let's see. He was one of the directors of movie 43. He was a supporting role in Dallas Buyers Club, which that's a really good one with Matthew McConaughey. He was the parole board officer in Ocean's 8 with Sandra Bullock. And yeah, a lot of like bit parts in movies, but what can you say? Probably a lot of TV work. So that's what I mean. Like a lot of these actors, I mean, they would work sporadically, but none became like a big star after this film. And I guess because I mean, while the actors did their jobs well, people either remember, I guess, the writing of the film by John Landis or the effects by Rick Baker, and that's why their careers flourished. Even despite what John Landis did with Twilight Zone the movie, his career still pretty much flourished. Just look at John Landis. Kentucky Fried Movie 77, Animal House 78, Blues Brothers 80, this 81, Trading Places 83, along with Twilight Zone. Then 85, Into the Night, Spies Like Us, 86, Three Amigos, 87, He Works on Amazon Women on the Moon, 88, Coming to America, 91, Oscar, 92, Innocent Blood, 94, Beverly Hills Cop 3, 96, The Stupids, 1998, Blues Brothers 2000, Susan's Plan, 2010, Burke and Hare with Simon Pegg and Andy Serkis. And that's pretty much it. And he would act in movies. I mean, he had a bit role in The Muppets Take Manhattan. He had a bit role in Spontaneous Combustion, Darkman, Sleepwalkers. I think Body Bags. He had a bit role, like cameo in it. I want to say he did. Maybe not. I thought he did. Maybe I think it was something else. I thought yeah. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else in that. Wes Craven. He was in Body Bags. Anyway. See if I'm going to look up some trivia on this. The first film to earn the Academy Award for Best Makeup. Rick Baker claimed to have been disappointed by the amount of time spent shooting the face-changing shot for the transformation after having spent months working on the mechanism. John Landis only required one take lasting about 7 seconds. Baker felt he had wasted his time until seeing the film with an audience that applauded during that one 7-second shot. David Naughton was reportedly cast. John Landis had seen him in the Dr. Pepper commercials. Naughton was later let go by Dr. Pepper because of his nude scenes in this film. Wow. The scene later with David in the cage with the real wolves was filmed in one take, as Don had no desire to get back to the cage with the animals. David Naughton said the transformation scene took 6 days to complete, roughly 10 hours a day spent on applying the makeup, 5 hours on set, and 3 hours on makeup removal. Because the makeup took so long to apply and remove, there was only enough time for one setup a day. Rick Baker estimated that only half an hour of footage was shot during the entire week. The stout protrusion was the last shot to be filmed, and it did not include none but an animatronic head. It was the last shot of the production. It was conducted after the wrap party had been held and the cast and crew started going home. Baker found that a little anticlimactic. So yeah, 6 days. Can you imagine that? Taking 6 days to shoot one. It's a standout scene. Is what made it a. This is, I know, strong words, but I'm gonna say it. Without that scene, I think the film would be liked, but not a classic. I think that one scene made this film a classic for a lot of people. Again, as is, I think people, oh, you know, it's clever, or they like the writing, or they like the acting, the dreams. But again, without that scene, like if it was, you know, the Lon Chaney Jr., you know, or Off Screen or something else, in fact, I don't think it would be as remembered as it is today, is what I'm saying. But it's a damn good scene. John Landis says, you know, people keep calling it a comedy, but it's not a comedy. It's funny, I hope, but it's a horror film. You meet these guys in a truckload of sheep. That's not subtle. I mean, these boys are dead by the end of the movie. That's not really a happy tale. That's true. The first scene is them as lambs for the slaughter, so to speak. That is true. So, as John Landis himself puts it, it's a horror film. Let's see. I'm trying to see. Because 1981, I mean, like, to give you a clue, the biggest hits of that year: 1, Raiders of the Lost Ark; 2, On Golden Pond; 3, Superman 2; 4, Arthur; 5, Stripes; 6, The Cannonball Run; 7, Chariots of Fire; 8, For Your Eyes Only; 9, The Four Seasons; and 10, Time Bandits. When he got into the Oscars, Chariots of Fire won Best Picture. Warren Beatty won for Best Director at Reds. Henry Fonda won for Best Actor on Golden Pond. Katharine Hepburn won for Best Actress on Golden Pond. Best Supporting Actor, John Gielgud in Arthur. Best Supporting Actress, Maureen Stapleton from Reds. Best Adapted Screenplay, Ernest Thompson on Golden Pond. An Original Screenplay, Chariots of Fire. Best Original Score, Vangelis for Chariots of Fire. Best Song, Arthur's Theme. Best That You Can Do from the film Arthur with Dudley Moore. And other horror films in 1981. What do we have? Let's see. We have... I guess technically The Evil Dead, although some say 83, but technically it is 81. Lucio Fulci's The Beyond, Blood Beach, that classic. The Burning, which I don't mind, that slasher film. Dead and Buried, Daily Blessing. Love The Evil Dead. Probably my favorite horror film of 1981 would be The Evil Dead. Like Friday the 13th Part 2. Like Halloween 2, that's up there. Don't mind Hell Night. Don't mind this film, I like it. My Bloody Valentine's definitely up there. Stanners. Fuck Wolfen. Road games, I like road games. I mean, that's more of a thriller, but I love road games with Stacy Teach and Jamie Lee Curtis. That's definitely up there. God, look at that TV back in the day. The limited stuff you see a dart throwing competition, or where the fuck this is with Nina Carter. But I mean, that's all the trivia I can find right now. So, which I mean, I think we're getting to the showcase, the big moment of the movie anyway. So, blue moon, blue, blue, blue. I see the bad moon rising. Of course, the songs, I mean, made sense to how they're related to the predicament going on. And this is an interesting choice to have this come out of the blue. There's no music rising up like shit's gonna hit the fan. There's no build up of music rising up. It's mainly hits just like that. It's like, oh my god, like just hits them like a big rush of nausea and just like you just got stabbed. So you're kind of in the semblance of calm, and then it hits you. Oh shit! Like he's in pain. What the hell? Oh, here we go. Also, interesting choice to have Mickey Mouse right then and there, right beside him. Just at the time symbol of I don't know innocence, childhood idol, whatever you want to put it, and he's bearing witness to shenanigans that happens here. Did she just say she was going to beat him in the face? I thought she said, have you ever been beaten in the face? Up here you go. And right here and there. And now we're going to get to what's been known as one of the pinnacle scenes of course, not just werewolf films, but horror films, especially 80s. Anytime you talk about horror films in the 80s, this scene is going to pop up. And it still holds up fairly well. Sometimes people say that some of these shots may go on a bit too long, but I'm fine with that just to witness these type of effects, which I'm not even going to get into how the hell this was done because I'm not an effects guy. But just imagine the audience reaction when this happened, just how gonzo, because this is not typical things, especially if you were used to transformations like the Wolfman, where it was this like dissolve. sorry, I called you a meatloaf. See, now he realizes his friend was telling the truth. So yeah, like 6 days. So it's probably like, okay, we need to get the spine shown. Each bit, like we got more and more hair, makeup on his face. Like this is probably a whole day just for That's been an interesting choice to have him literally look at the camera. Maybe try and say, hey, like, almost reach out to the audience. Hey, audience, please help me. Audience, please, someone out there in the audience, please help me. I think that's the 7-second shot right there. That he wish it was longer, but yet be like, oh shit. Like that, I like that look the most of the werewolf. Like right there, I kind of wish his face stayed like that with the werewolf. Like the way the snout is, the way it's positioned. That way, you can still see it's a person, and he can move his eyes, but then the jaws will be controlled. But then it turns to this kind of, I don't want to say werebear, but this much more gigantic animal. And these poor sons of bitches. Nah, the only stare you don't get is your own. You'll be dead. I guess I just in the question, like, why is it so hard to make a good werewolf film? Like, I would call this a good werewolf film. I just truthfully, number one, you need the right look of the creature. This had that. The bigger creature is shot quickly enough so you're not honing in on it too long to laugh or ridicule it. Like that's a nice shot of showing its eyes and it's like, oh shit, that get that reaction out of the audience. Also, what take are you going to put upon it? Because if you have a creature that's been showcased since, people remember the Wolfman in the 40s, and I think there was stuff before it. Can't remember the titles. But even if not, it was been around for that long. People are so used to the story, the idea. What can you do with it that doesn't seem blasé, boring, standard? Same with a zombie movie. And hell, there's probably been 10 times more zombie movies than werewolf, because zombie films technically would be easier to make, simply for the fact of which is easier for an effects guy to do. Take a person and then put makeup here, here, here. Now act like you're dead, or make a lot more heavy makeup and fangs and design work and hair. Try not to make it look goofy. And hopefully not silly. Maybe have animatronic work or what have you. And that's a lot more work, a lot more time. And now I don't try to trade 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, but you do the other with zombies, you're going to make 100 of them. A little makeup here, a little makeup there, but most of it's going to be you and your body anyway. So it's just going to be easier for makeup guys and directors and stuff to handle. So again, there's been 10 times more zombie films, so even that makes it more harder. What more can you do that has been done before? But even werewolf films, there's been a chunk of them, and like I said, either you're not given the budget to fully utilize what you want to do with the werewolf, or to make the werewolf that awe-inspiring for the viewer to witness. Go, oh wow, that looks so cool. Or even if you do that, do you have limitations of how it can move, how it can traverse? How does it move? Does it move like a wolf? Does it move on 4 legs? Does it still go on 2 legs? Which direction do you want to take it? The more money you give, then the less tendency they probably want to have it a bloody R rating. Or, with makeup effects, maybe it's a bit tenuous and time and too much time taken upon it, so let's add CGI. Because the more we're on location, the more money we're spending. But you're on a computer in this facility, typically don't cost less money. Plus, if it screws up, you gotta do take 2, you gotta do take 3. You don't have to do that with a computer and CGI. I'm not saying CGI is easy, but I'm saying you eliminate a lot of the environmental factors, retake factors. If something messed up, you gotta do take 2, take 3. You have all these people on the set. They gotta pay for their time on the set, on the location. Instead, there's just 1 or 2 or whoever guys on the computer. So yeah, apparently that whole homeless scene, which I remember seeing some of the footage, it was a lot more bloodier, a lot more violent. I think it is on the Blu-ray. But yeah, this guy's definitely going to town tonight. The couple, the homeless people, this poor sumbitch. Whereas they're going to be giving him shit in the porno theater later on. I thought this was one of the better directed scenes in the film, and particularly the POV shots. And how the director is hiding this big thing. I like you see the thing come into view, but from so far away, so you can't get a good look at the full body, but you see the size of it. You go, oh shit, that kind of reaction. The proper British way of telling, we Americans would say, fuck your problem. But this guy's saying a much more proper way. A nice movement of the camera. Following him, moving along the escalator with him. I just looked at the advertisers in the back. I'm one of those guys that I like watching old TV commercials. And it's funny, back in the day, I'd be like, oh my god, can the commercial be over? Now, I'd be open to watching old school commercials. Can't help it. It's a good... See, this one, I mean, this cool POV following the guy. Give a sense of urgency. I also like the way they did this. I don't know if this is a set. I don't know if this is a real location. I'm assuming it's a real location. Yeah, I would say it probably is a real location. But yeah, I like the narrowness of it all. Makes it feel a bit claustrophobic. I think this is what I'm talking about. This is wide shot. You see a little bit come into play right there. Just ooh, like you see enough of it to show how massive it is. But then if they try to show too much of it, especially in the bright lights, they would seem perhaps some more of the seams, some more of the deficiencies of the suit or what have you. This is where David Naughton wakes up naked in the cage with the wolves. And the wolves seem to like him. Wonder if he made... Did you mate any of them, boy? Did your dick go somewhere it should not have belonged? I mean, you ate some people, and you killed some people. You might have mated some wolves, too. You don't know. That wolf might have been like, I had a good time with you last night. You might have had a pecker in your spectrum rectum. How the fuck did he... Oh, I'm trying to figure out how the fuck did he get in there. I'm trying to look at the top, see if there... Oh yeah, okay, there's the bit of the cage ripped off. There he goes. And the wolf is like, I want to do that too. Yeah, I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to do that scene at the end either. Once with wolves is enough. I mean, wolves, I like wolves. They're cool. I know it's this weird thing. Wolves are cool, but they are cool. These monkeys are like, the fuck is this guy naked going around? I think this is one of the funnier bits in the movie. I always think of the kid coming up. I love his delivery of that dialogue. I think that lady, from what I read, she wasn't told that he would be naked, just that a guy would pop up and say hello. But I like David Naughn's, the way he plays the scene out. I don't blame him. Yeah, don't talk to strangers. Stranger danger. Kid should be like, you don't have any fucking money, you lying sack of shit. You ain't giving any fucking money. That's a good question. Yeah, this right here. A naked American man stole my balloons. What? For some reason, that kid and that delivery of that line, I think it's just because it's so deadpan and so serious, but it's such a ridiculous line. But it really happened because we saw it. Just makes the scene work for me. It definitely, for me, it's one of the funnier bits of the movie. Of a movie that, again, John Landis himself says is a horror film. But I don't know, like Fright Night, like with like horror films with humorous elements, like Fright Night is just much more satisfying to me. It has the special effects, but it has the chemistry between William Radsdale and Peter Vincent, vampire killer, Roddy McDowell. The ending's a lot more happier and satisfying. There is violent, but it didn't feel too much whiplash at times compared to this. I keep thinking like the very end of the film. I guess I could tell a story about Rick Baker. My friend Mike OCP told me this story a long time ago. For anyone who's even followed along with this, there's a reason why sometimes my friend Mike, OCP Communications, and I will jokingly refer to Steven Spielberg as Steven Spielberg. And it's a story where Rick Baker and Steven Spielberg were going to do a film together. Spielberg wanted to do a film called Night Skies. Night Skies, I want to say Night Skies. And Spielberg was a bit gun-ho to do this, to do Night Skies. And it was going to be aliens on a farmhouse, and a boy would befriend one, but then there's other of its kind, and kind of like what would become Critters, would mixed with a little, like kind of like a little bit of Gremlins. With there's one you befriend, there's other bad versions of it, and the farmhouse makes me think of Critters, so that bits. But anyway, Rick Baker agreed. But then, in the midst of, I think, making, I don't know if it was making Raiders of the Lost Ark or doing something, he changed his mind. And said, you know what, actually, I want to do a friendlier alien movie. I don't want to do this nice guy stuff anymore. And Rick Baker's like, well, wait a minute. Well, number one, we have all this preparation. Now you want to throw it out the window. Number two, I'm doing another film now. It's called American Werewolf in London. And apparently Spielberg was so pissed off and so angry and so upset that he stole a lot of Rick Baker's designs, or stole a lot of his drawings. Oh, fuck this, you fuck Rick Baker. Stole his shit. And then if you look at the designs he had for the aliens, if you puffed up their cheeks a bit and squished their heads down a bit, they look like E.T. Like imagine E.T., but if take away the sides and stretch his face up a little bit, it would look like the aliens Rick Baker designed. And of course, Carlo Rambaldi went on to do E.T. and then won the Oscar for that. So that rubbed Rick Baker the wrong way. Obviously, he must have worked it out because he did Men in Black, and I believe Steven Spielberg produced that. But I don't think Rick Baker ever actually worked with Spielberg as a director. And I'm trying to think where Spielberg was a director and then he was I don't think so. And I think that's the reason why. So a lot of times I would joke as Steven Spielberg. Now this is him trying to get arrested. Sorry, I'm just watching. I think David Naughton does a good job. I mean, he's playing a guy at his wits' end. It's hard to, to comprehend, oh, your dead friend has warned you that you'd be a werewolf, so I can understand why he's going insane. It's a hard pill to swallow, but then once he realizes people are dead, he's immediately, I want to get arrested. I need to have this stopped. I need to do something about it. You could always try, what was the, go up to the, go to, well, go to France, go up to the Eiffel Tower, and maybe you meet someone bungee jumping, like the American Werewolf in Paris. But yeah, that's the Rick Baker story, and Mike tells it a lot better than I do. But it's always a fascinating story to me. I believe, I don't know if Mike met Rick Baker and asked him about it or something. I can't remember. And there was something else I was going to bring up, but I forgot about it now. Guess you could say this is sort of his final goodbye in a way to his family back home. And maybe in a weird way, that nightmare earlier about his family, maybe that was his subconscious telling you that, you're in an overseas country. In a way, if you go home, you bring that bit of it home, and then you being a werewolf, so in a way, it'd be like you bringing death to your family if you go home. It's like maybe subconscious way of don't go home, otherwise you'll bring death to your home and your family. I know that's a pretty big stretch, pretty thin, but I guess that would make more sense if all of a sudden he turned into one of those creatures and he started killing and shooting his family. But yeah, I thought David Naughton did a good job showcasing the at wit's end, and it really made you feel sorry for the character. And that's why I thought he did a good job, and just didn't. I mean, I guess he got a couple leading roles, but not a whole lot. Yeah, it's hard for him to do it. At just a point like, what do you do next? I know. I mean, John Landis chose a porno theater because it'd be funnier. But that the serious stuff has happened, but in the background you hear and people fucking. Like I get it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Let's say I get the idea behind it, but yeah, can you imagine back in the day, like going to porno theaters? But I mean, back then there was really no other way to see those kind of films, really. So now we don't have Griffin Dunne anymore. We just have this puppet, or of course Griffin Dunne's voice. I'm sorry, I was like the movie within a movie is that I've never seen you before. Oh, I'm sorry, and then the guy left. I forgot about that. I forgot about that bit. I think that was pretty funny. Sorry, I'm listening to the dialogue. Now he's going to meet his victims to try to, which are going to guilt him into hopefully doing something. But at least it's definitely a unique idea that your own victims are your own victims are are back to talk to you this way. I mean, I can't really blame this guy being so pissed off at him. You killed me. My wife doesn't have a husband anymore. My kids don't have a dad anymore. I'm stuck in this limbo. Yeah, I want you to fucking die. I can't really blame the guy for thinking that way. And there's the three homeless guys. Drowning, that'd be like the worst way. Burning or drowning would be like the worst way, man. How long was he in this fucking theater? That's it. How long was he in this fucking theater? He went in during the day. Now it's nighttime, and and how long is this fucking movie too? It's like the same scene in the movie. Listen, I'm trying to didn't he go in during the day? So what? At 5 minutes is nighttime with the full moon. Why the fuck didn't this guy go to him sooner to warn him? But we gotta have this one final massacre to really go up shit creek before he's killed off. I guess no one else becomes a werewolf. I guess everyone else he's killed, not just Ben survived, because otherwise the curse wouldn't be lifted. You do get some pretty decent stunt work during this, but also you see a sense of the recklessness of John Landis during these scenes, like whether it be the Blues Brothers with all the cars crashing, and in this scene, you see some of the chaos where he was really pushing it, and it looks good on film, but there's a lot of danger involved in that. Yeah, the same scene in this porno just keep going and going. But yeah, I mean, back in the day, that was really the only place you could find these. I mean, you didn't have VHS and cable like the way. Well, nowadays you could find like 5 seconds. It wasn't really the case back then. Now they're ready to have their fucking field day. Right, right here, right now. Oh shit. This is where the cast is really going to ratchet up. But it gives a good production value. All the extras on the real life city streets, it does make it a big scene, a big sequence for your finale. Got you right in the kisser. There goes your head. Fucking Pez dispenser. The stuff with the double-decker bus especially, like look at the way this is done. Right there, like people flying out. Ooh. And you run over. Those are like all these like cars. I mean, he's definitely used to this from the Blues Brothers. All the cars crashes there. I think that's John Landis there, I believe. I believe it was John Landis with like their blue headband going into the glass, I believe. And these cops are just not fucking chaos everywhere. Yeah, it's time to corner this sumbitch. And then it just kind of ends. It's kind of like where we've. I guess that old phrase, when the monster is dead, the movie's over. And this definitely follows that rule. There's no aftermath, anything in between. Again, when the monster is dead, the movie's over, and boom. Yeah, damn, they're ratcheting up. There you go. Talk about total damn chaos. They got guns all the ready. At the ready. I'm gonna shoot the shit out of you. Damn, she fell right on the fucking guys. So this will be the first time she sees the beast, so to speak. I mean, I know they want to keep their distance, but you would think, okay, would you get a little bit closer, at least to the end of that alley she's at? But we'll say it is still a cool looking suit. Still a neat looking one. And of the Pantheon of Werewolf films, definitely still one of the better looking ones to this day. You think there's a moment, but no. They're pretty damn good shots to shoot that fucking far away and to not hit her without even a scope. That's pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good shots. When the monster's dead, the movie's over. And that's the thing, like, she's crying, and by the time you're comprehending what's going on, not like, okay, the dead are saying goodbye and entering from undead to dead, boom. Bomb it a bomb, a band a bandit. It just, I don't think that seems like a whiplash. Like, you look at the death of this guy you felt sorry for him, then this upbeat song, Blue Moon, da, da, da. It's not the Kermit the Frog Miss Piggies themselves. Okay, I didn't notice that in the credits. Frank Oz, of course, did the voice, I believe, of Kermit as well, right? Not just Yoda. But yeah, okay. And the See You Next Wednesday, Kaz, that was the porno. And to look at the features, yeah, there's Beware the Moon, which, like I said, this is a pretty lengthy documentary. It's this is as long as the movie, an hour and 37 minutes. This is as long as the damn movie. And I feel like they got like everybody for it, so like the chapters on it. Let me check. The beginning, the cast shooting whales, murder on the moors, bring Jack back, transformation of David, the music. These are a bit pornos and puppets. So shooting in that theater. I'm trying. Did they get? Yeah, they even got like one of the actresses from that porno. Brenda's Bristol's. They got the actress there, but she was a blonde at this, that she did this. And it worked in the puppet as well. Rick Baker's, yeah, the interview pretty much anybody you can think of. Well, almost everybody, I should say. Other bonus features on this Blu-ray: I Walked with a Werewolf, interviewed John Landis, makeup artist Rick Baker, Cassie on the Hand, outtakes, storyboards, commentary with David Naughton and Griffin Dunne. I Walked with a Werewolf. Which one is that? What's that entailing? I Walked with a Werewolf. 7 minutes long. Just Britt Baker, I guess, talking about his love of, you know, just kind of how he got started. Talking about the Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman and so forth. Which that was one of the disappointing things where you had the Wolfman in, what was it, 2010? I think, yeah, also had Rick Baker involved, and then a lot of it became, you know, CGI additions or CGI manipulation or in the sort, so this guy was so ridiculous with that, but, you know, what can you do? But with that said, you know, I still like the film. You know, still a pretty decent movie. May not be my favorite werewolf film, but still a pretty decent one. So with that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we will see you later. Thanks once again, Shawn, and take care. Bye-bye.